Good morning. Ohio voters face a huge decision this year, choosing a new governor to lead efforts to battle the opioid epidemic, create more jobs with a future, and keep schools safe. The University of Akron's Bliss Institute of Politics wants you to be able to compare candidates and their ideas before the May 8th primary. I'm Tom Beres, former longtime politics reporter for WKYC TV in Cleveland. I'll be interviewing the 6 major Republican and Democratic contenders. They have picked the dates and times, and Democratic State Senator Joe Schiavoni of Youngstown is here ready to go. Senator, good morning. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity.
All right. First up, we all know that U.S. News and World Reports, they do surveys and rankings of colleges. They do surveys and rankings of hospitals. They also do surveys and rankings of cities. In their most recent city survey, Ohio came in 40th out of 50 states. They use a formula that involves education, health care, opportunity, environment, quality of life. And we came in 40th behind all of our neighboring states except for West Virginia and for the most part the really deep South states. Are you surprised by that?
No, I mean the General Assembly under Governor Kasich has utilized tax cuts as the way to solve all problems in the state, but it doesn't work. And so what they've done is they set a tax code where they lower the income tax every single year, mostly for the highest earners, but everybody gets a little bit. They have all these tax LLC loopholes where you can shelter your tax dollars so you don't have to pay your state tax. And at the end of the day, you don't have any money for schools. You don't have any money for your potholes and your roads and bridges. You don't have any money for your senior centers and for all of those support nets that you desperately need. You need to invest that in the people, starting all the way at universal pre-K into higher ed, and make it happen for people. Give people pathways, give people opportunity, make sure we're shoring up our vocational
So realistically, given the present state of affairs, are Ohio's best days ahead of it or behind it?
Definitely ahead of us. You just need some leadership, that somebody that's going to step up and work with others and try to get things done for people. And remember that you're a public official, you're an elected official, because people need you to be down there to work together and not just go down there and fight about a bunch of BS.
You are the perhaps the least known and arguably the least experienced and the youngest of all the candidates on the Democratic side here. You're running against candidates who are 58, Mr. Cordray 70, Mr. O'Neill 71, Mr. Kucinich. I know you're spending a lot of time on college campuses. Is age a relevant issue in this race?
I think so. I mean, I don't have to stand and say I'm young and they're old. People can see the difference. But I have the experience necessary in order to lead the state. I've been in the Senate for 10 years. I was a minority leader for the past 3. I'm a workers' comp lawyer from Youngstown that has represented injured workers. I know how to talk to people, I know how to treat people, and I know how to work together and get things done. And when I have to fight, I will. And I've shown that in the Senate over the past decade.
Okay, so Republicans have won 6 of the last 7 races for governor. Yep. Does that mean Ohio is no longer a swing state?
Hopefully we can swing it this year, and with a new leader, I think it can be done. The problem is Democrats have been rolling out the same old candidates with the same old talking points, and we need somebody different. We need a Democrat that can relate to people and talk to people about issues that are important to them. Young people, older people, people that work in factories, professionals, whatever it might be, we need somebody that can boil this stuff down to the bare bones and talk to people in a way that impacts them.
Critics say Ohio's legislature spends a lot of time on issues like gun regulations or deregulation, as the case may be, on personal behavior issues, and on whether or not there should be a state dog. If you were governor, could you do anything to make the legislature spend more time on important issues like health care, education? And also, how would you deal with the Republican control of the legislature? What could you do to make the legislature more productive?
Look, if you have balance, it becomes more productive. Right now, you have a Republican governor, Republicans in charge of the House and the Senate, so they cook this stuff up in the back room. They say, look, we're going to roll this out. Pass the Senate, pass the House, Kasich signs it, it's law. If you have balance, if you have a Democratic governor, even if both houses are still controlled by Republicans, you have to work together. That way, from the governor's office, you're pushing legislation through legislators when it comes to job creation, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to education. You're not pushing this stuff that is all about abortion and guns and all of these social issues that they've been driving through the General Assembly since I've been down there.
So as governor, do you think you could exert some influence to change the balance and change the priorities?
Absolutely. And you know, I work with Republicans all the time. I have 2 bills that are being co-sponsored right now with Republicans. One about water quality, investing hundreds of millions of dollars into clean water initiatives across the lake and down the river, and another one to expand broadband to everybody. Those are issues that are important to every Ohioan. And I'm working with Republicans in order to get it done, and I'm in the super minority right now.
Donald Trump, President Trump, got lots and lots of votes from people that you represent. He has been in office about 15 months now.
Right.
Do you think the state of Ohio and its residents are better off or worse off because of things that he has done or not done in the limited time he's been in office, and why do you feel the way you do?
Trump has done nothing for the everyday Ohioan. You know, he came into Youngstown and got up on top of his limousine and got his bullhorn out at the Canfield Fair and said, we're going to put all of you back to work. See those industrial brownfields? We're going to clean those up. We're going to knock them down. We're going to rebuild our roads. We're going to put you back to work. I haven't seen it in my community, and a lot of people are frustrated that he went for the tax cuts first rather than that infrastructure rebuild. And then after he said he was going to rebuild the infrastructure, he said only 25% was going to come from the federal government. That's not $1 trillion rebuild. And so I think there is some buyer's remorse, but I don't go into things and say, look, Trump is this and Trump is that. He's the president of the United States, and as governor, I would work with him where I could and fight with him where I had to. That's the way you get stuff done. But yeah, Trump crossover country is my backyard, but those people are coming back to vote for me because they want something real, and they want something good, and they want somebody that understands them.
Your part of the state used to be a steel-making powerhouse.
Right.
Do you agree with the president's tariffs on steel and aluminum? Do you think they'll create more jobs in those industries? Or do you think that there'll be more jobs lost in other industries that use those metals in their products, and that perhaps we'll all wind up paying more for products we import as a result of a trade war? Are you for the tariffs or against them?
I'm not for tweeting legislation and tweeting laws and tweeting tariffs and demanding other countries do stuff. At the end of the day, I think that it's a problem to put out tariffs like this. Will it help the steel industry? Maybe somewhat, but it's going to hurt more in other places. So at the end of the day, I would not be for them. You know, I talked to farmers in Columbiana County that said, look, we are going to lose the ability to sell soybeans to China. And China's going to invest in Brazil, and Brazil's going to grow soybeans and sell it to China because they're not going to want to deal with America anymore under Trump. Like, you got to think about this stuff. Is there a way that we can put tariffs on foreign steel and help our steel workers at home? Absolutely. But it has to be balanced. It has to be give and take. It can't be, this is what we're doing because I'm Donald Trump and I'm the boss. I don't like that way. I don't like that kind of ruler. I don't like that kind of leader.
But I'm betting there are a lot of steel workers or ex-steel workers in your district who don't agree with you.
Maybe, maybe not, but it's worth a conversation to have with everybody at the table before you do things that way. At the end of the day, you balance out what's important and you make a decision. You only have a yes and a no vote in Columbus or in Washington, and you got to make choices. But I like to work together first to try to figure out how to get things done before just slapping tariffs and demanding things.
Ohio's population growth is flat. It's very likely the state is going to lose certainly 1 and something possibly 2 congressional seats in the next census. Many Ohio cities are trying to attract and encourage immigrants to come and settle there to help deal with the shrinking population and take advantage of maybe some of the better educated, more enterprising immigrants. Do you think Ohio should launch a program to seriously try to recruit immigrants to come and settle in Ohio?
I think that there's a lot of young people that are here that are dreamers that grow up just like most of us, right? And they're just trying to have good opportunities. They want good jobs. They want to raise a family. They went to Ohio schools. And so to recruit people from all over the world is a good thing. We need that diversity and balance in the state of Ohio. There's a lot of cities like Youngstown where when people come from all over the world, they really bring value. Places like Youngstown, places like Akron, Canton, you become set in your ways. And so to bring people in from out of the state and out of the country, I think it's a good thing, and it's a good thing for young people. You know, I have 2 kids, and I want them to grow up in a world like that.
Again, a number of cities, Cleveland, Dayton, have organizations, specific recruitment efforts. Realistically, what do you think the state could do if it were inclined to try to attract immigrants?
Well, I think first you want to make sure you're attracting the right kind of people, right? You don't want to be just opening the floodgates for all immigrants, because then you're going to run into the situations at the federal level where you're going to have, we don't want these bad people, we don't want these kind of people. We want people to come to Ohio that are going to build a stronger economy. We want young people to come so that they can bring that energy and youth into Ohio. And at the end of the day, you do background checks and you let anybody in that wants to come and be a part of our community, as long as they pass a background check. Makes sense to me from all over the world. I think that's the way that we need to do it. And then we'll have that skilled workforce in order to fill the jobs of the future. We'll have that diversity that's so necessary about improving our economy and just making that correlation and that connection between us and the rest of the world. I think it's really important.
Would that be a hard sell in your district?
Maybe, maybe not. I mean, again, people want to see new faces. They want to see people coming in with different perspectives. Change is difficult sometimes, but it's necessary. You can't stick with the same old thing and think that it's going to work over and over and over. And we're not attracting new people to a lot of our smaller communities in Ohio. So it's about time we start investing in trying to bring people from all over the world and all over the country and show them these beautiful places we have in Ohio.
Let's talk jobs here for a moment here. Governor Kasich is fond of boasting that 450,000 private sector jobs have been created on his watch. Yet the state, I believe 63 months in a row, has been behind the national states average in job creation. So which of those numbers is more reflective of reality? Is Ohio's economy lagging or growing?
I think it's lagging, and I think it's because of that lack of investment that I talked about at the beginning of the show. I go to places all across the state. Some don't have reliable internet. Some don't have good, clean water systems. The roads are terrible. They don't have the skilled, trained workforce in order to fill the jobs of the future. They have industrial brownfields all over the place that we have to clean up. So we got to rebuild our stuff first. And as we're rebuilding our state, we're retraining our workers and giving our workers the skills necessary to fill these jobs. And we have incentive packages in place to keep young people here. You got to keep the young people here, you got to give them decent jobs, and we're going to have a flourishing economy. But it takes money and it takes investment, not just throwing money at the problem, targeted investment moving forward in the state of Ohio.
About 100,000 jobs right now are going begging open in Ohio at the moment because there aren't enough skilled or properly trained workers to do them. Many surveys claim that Ohio is going to have to produce 1 million more college graduates or workers with special training by the year 2025 to deliver the workforce that employers want. If you were if you were governor, would that be a priority for you? And how could you begin to get that many people that educated in such a short period of time?
It is a priority, and it has been a priority for the past decade. What we need to do is start all the way at the pre-K level. You got to have 3- and 4-year-olds have an opportunity to be caught up before they get to kindergarten. And if they're walking into kindergarten, it's their first day, they're behind. Then when they get to 6th, 7th, 8th grade, you have to show them pass. Vocational training through the trades, community colleges, 4 universities, military, whatever it might be. We need to have those pathways, and we have to have business work with us to show us what they want. Tell us the skills you need. That way your schools are working with your businesses or working with your techs, and everybody's working together in order to provide these jobs to these people. But yeah, if we don't have the people with the skills, then the job creators don't come here. But it's about investing, starting in 3-year-olds and moving them throughout the system.
Okay, so springboarding off of that, I mean, what are your specific proposals to attract new businesses and strengthen existing companies in Ohio? And are there any particular industries where you think Ohio has maybe missed an opportunity or dropped the ball or could or should do more?
So I think there needs to be incentive packages in place for business when they acquire additional properties and build the footprint of their spot, right? So they're trying to build out, we should help them. They're hiring new people, we should help them. They're utilizing technology and putting new technology in their facilities, we should help them. We also need to make sure that we have loans and grants programs for young people. So investing in our incubators, so young people that graduate with an idea can go into a building, not have to pay tech support, not have to pay rent, just pay their staff until they spin out of these incubators. And then have that seed money for them to be able to start. I'm not talking about giving it away, millions and billions of dollars, but sometimes it's just that little nudge to get somebody from point A to point B, and then making sure that we have a tax code that is friendly to business, but not just throwing away tax cuts to everybody.
Would Governor Kasich's Jobs Ohio approach to things and organization be part of your job creation plan, or would you discontinue that?
Yeah, I don't think it's effective. I think that the way that he shielded a lot of those taxpayer dollars is frustrating, and there's not a good pathway for a legislator like me to try to get a business owner to the state. Under Strickland, there was a Department of Development. There was a guy in the Mahoning Valley in Eastern Ohio that I would call if a business owner had a problem. He would come to the facility and we could address the problem. With this system, it's all layered with the chambers of commerce and with these different groups that you have to call, and you never really know who you need to call in order to get the job done. It's privatized, which I don't love. Making money seems like it's the goal for them and for certain groups, not for everyone. And so if we're going to have Department of Development that's going to develop jobs for everyone, it needs to be a public, transparent system.
So you would abolish Jobs Ohio?
I would, even though I voted for it. I was one of the few Democrats that voted for it, and I wish I didn't.
So you think it's under-delivered?
I do, and I think that the promises were different than the end result. I only voted for it because he was a brand new governor and I was a new state senator, and I wanted to reach across the aisle and say, look, we're in a recession, you're a new governor.
So you're disappointed in what the results have been? All right. Columbus, at least on paper, Columbus is still in the running for the big Amazon second headquarters project. Realistically, do you think it has a shot?
I do. I think that we have the skilled workforce down there. We have the property. We're good position geographically. I think we're in the game. I know Pittsburgh also has a shot too, and that would be good for Eastern Ohio.
Now, the state and Columbus are offering significant tax breaks and an assortment of other inducements and incentives to Amazon. And a lot of people question how much should be offered to a prosperous, getting to own the entire universe company like Amazon to get them to bring a facility and all the jobs with it there. Is there a place to draw the line when enough is enough? I mean, from what you know about the package, is it appropriate?
I think it is, and I'm okay with incentivizing business. I just don't like when you give all these tax cuts back for nothing and hope and pray that they do something. Like with this LLC loophole, you're giving all this money back to professional LLCs, right? So you're giving all these people this ability not to pay state tax, but they're not doing anything in return. They're just pocketing it and put in their savings account and their 401k. If you're incentivizing business and you're incentivizing jobs and you can see the proof is in the pudding, how many jobs they're bringing, and now we're putting our people to work and people are living better lifestyles, higher quality of life, I'm for it. I just don't like these tax giveaways that we've been doing every single year since I've been in the General Assembly.
Do you think a governor should have more hands-on involvement and direct oversight of the state's schools, both charter and public?
Yeah, I think that they do. I mean, you're appointing a superintendent, you deal with the appointed school board and the elected school board, and a governor needs to understand education. I've really worked hard on education, making sure that for-profit charter schools are accountable and transparent, and we're investing in K through 12 so that we can become less reliant on property taxes.
But I mean, you've read some of the same stories that indicate there's been very little negligible communication between the superintendent of schools and Governor Kasich.
That's their fault.
What does that say?
It's their fault. It means that they can't work together and they can't even have conversations. I mean, it's about kids. It's not about who's more powerful and who has more political will. It's about helping kids succeed and giving people opportunities. And so I don't like that. I don't like that argument. I think it's nonsense. Those guys got to work together, and they should. It's about kids. It's not about politics.
Would your running mate play some role in Ohio's education policies and priorities?
That's why I picked her. I mean, she's a State Board of Education member and has been one. She's from Central Ohio, grew up in Zanesville. She understands people as well, has a young family, cares about people deeply, and cares about the future of public education. And she would play a very significant role in moving our state towards investing in public education and making sure that for-profit charter schools are accountable.
You're not a big fan of charter schools?
For-profit ones, no. It's called for-profit for a reason. They make money first rather than educating kids. If it's nonprofit and it's a bunch of people with means that throw money in a pot and say we want to do education different and they're doing better, can't argue with results. But the for-profit model has failed kids. It's failed families.
So would you reevaluate how much public funding is directed toward charter schools in Ohio?
Yeah, I mean, I've proposed bills since 2011 talking about accountability and transparency. In 2015, the Republicans finally took some of my ideas and called it House Bill 2. And then last year, ECOT just closed because we were putting the pressure on electronic schools. So yeah, my cards are on the table. For-profit models better start showing that they're doing something better for kids if they want to get taxpayer dollars. And taxpayers are starting to get angry because they realize that their taxpayer dollars aren't going to their local school. Some of it is, but some of it's following the kid out to school and going to the for-profit down the street.
One of your opponents has suggested maybe there should be the opportunity for local communities to vote whether there are charter schools.
Yeah, I don't know if that's constitutional. I mean, I've seen Dennis make a lot of promises to different groups as we travel the state. That's one that he often talks about, but he hasn't explained how or when he can do that.
How to make that happen. The opioid epidemic has hit Ohio as hard as any state. What are your proposals to try to get it under control?
Yeah, I mean, this is gut-wrenching what's going on. I mean, Stephanie, my running mate's sister, died of a fentanyl overdose, and so she talks a lot about it. I've been to communities that have been devastated, specifically in Southeast Ohio, where these kids don't have parents. In some cases, they don't have grandparents because of this addiction. I've proposed legislation that I would move forward as governor to allocate 10% of the rainy day fund to invest in education for kids, police on the ground, and a true rehabilitation system, not just 30 days and clean, but wraparound services for folks, transitional housing, job retraining, reconnecting families.
So doing the math, 10% of the rainy day fund, which is $2 billion, is what, $200 million?
Over the next 2 years. That's the bill that we proposed.
Medicaid. What would you like to see happen? Continue the program in its current form? How do you deal with the obvious reality that it's financially unsustainable in its current shape?
So working poor, we've given the opportunity to be able to go to the doctors, be able to get that medical treatment, be able to live healthier lifestyles. And it is working. It is a worthwhile investment. It takes a lot of money on the front end, but it's a worthwhile long-term investment. Here's my concern, and I've said this a lot of places. Just because you give somebody a piece of paper that says that they're Medicaid eligible, it doesn't mean anything unless the reimbursement rates are right. Meaning, if you don't have reimbursement rates in place for home health care, for the dentist, for doctors, then they're not going to take Medicaid patients and it's not worth anything. So it's about making sure that our reimbursement rates are right and making sure that we find the dollars in order to continue with the program. Now, if the federal government pulls out money, we are going to have some tough decisions to make in the state of Ohio, but we ultimately have to move towards making sure that we're providing affordable, quality health care in the state of Ohio, and finding those dollars is a priority for me.
So what's the balance here between humanity and the bottom line here? I mean, how do you make sure that those people who genuinely have no other recourse and need it don't wind up kicked to the curb?
We got to make sure that the feds understand that this is a worthwhile investment at the state level. And as long as those federal dollars continue to come into the state, then we will be able to continue down this road of Medicaid expansion. If the General Assembly decides not to do it, we're going to go back to a place where everybody runs back to the ER for care. That's how it was when I first started. That is not healthy for Ohio. That is not good business model for anybody. And so it is a worthwhile investment that will pay dividends in the future when people are living healthier lifestyles and they have less trips and visits to the ER. Just got to make it happen and make it work.
Gun regulations. At one time, I think you got a B from the NRA. You're sort of, how would you characterize yourself? Are you sort of a middle of the roader?
I mean, I've never met with the NRA, and I'm not a member of the NRA, so I don't know how they make up grades. Like I got a C one time, I got a B one time. I can only guess that that's because of some concealed carry votes that I had. I mean, if you're a law-abiding citizen and you want to carry a firearm, like I understand that. If you want to have a firearm to protect your family, I get it. You want to have rifles to hunt, got it. I don't like the fact that, you know, people can buy all kinds of guns at gun shows without background checks. I don't like that we don't have red flag laws that can pull guns off dangerous people. I don't like the fact that we have military weapons that are available to everybody. So I think we have some gun laws that we can shore up.
So a recent poll showed now a majority of Ohioans and a majority of people in both parties now would like to see a ban on further sales of military assault weapons. Do you favor that?
I do. And I think that that's the way that we need to go in order to keep people safe. These young people are scared in school. We have a suicide rate that is increasing. We have domestic violence. We can't have people with these weapons. Unfortunately, you know, some gun owners are going to say, you're going to take my rights away. We're not trying to take away rights. We're not trying to take away the Second Amendment rights. I explain that every single day I go out here, but there's got to be some limit.
The question that I think people who are in support of that ban would ask is, what is the legitimate need of an ordinary citizen for a military weapon that's designed to kill a lot of people in a short time?
That's it. What is? I mean, they say...
You don't see one.
People that, no, I don't. And people will argue with me and say, well, they're fun to shoot. Well, that's not a legitimate need. You know, well, I need these to protect my family. I don't think you do. And so this is the conversation that we're having every day in the State House. But I've gone after some low-hanging fruit when it comes to background checks, red flag laws, making sure we have gun show loopholes tied up. I've rolled all of those bills out, and they're sitting in the General Assembly now. Hopefully we can move some of those.
One of your opponents, Mr. Kucinich, is pushing cities to try to push the legislature to come up with a law that would let cities tailor their own individual gun regulations to their particular needs and circumstances. Right now, an Ohio law bans that, the idea being that Cleveland and Columbus, the heart of the cities, is a lot different than Hancock and Warren counties. Should cities have the right to make their own gun laws?
I think they should. And you know, I know there's a constitutional issue, and there's some legal proceeding out there, precedent out there, but I think it makes sense. I like local control. I like local control of a lot of things because we do have a state that is different. Now, I understand there's federal law, there's state law, there's local law, and everything has to be paired, and there's more powerful levels. But at the end of the day, I think cities should have a right to make decisions. Their elected officials have the right to make decisions that are best for their people.
Switching subjects, Ohio lawmakers are now looking at a proposal to completely ban abortion. No exception for mother's health issues, no exception for rape victims. If you became governor and that bill came across your desk, would you sign it?
No, and I've voted against about 20 anti-choice bills. You know, I stand with women with their right to make decisions for their own bodies and their medical decisions. These guys continue to put these bills on the floor in the Senate and the House. It's unbelievable. I mean, every month we go through a bill, they get worse and worse, and they're all unconstitutional. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of taxpayer dollars. They're trying to shame women. They're trying to vilify Planned Parenthood and other organizations.
But they're obviously hoping to get the issue in front of the Supreme Court again and maybe get a reversal of Roe v. Wade.
No, they're going to lose again, but yeah, I get it.
Are you in favor of legalizing recreational marijuana? A couple of your opponents are.
So yes, I voted for medical marijuana first. I think we need to roll that out. I don't think that the General Assembly will vote for recreational marijuana as I see the members today, but there may be some opportunity for the people to bring something forward through a ballot initiative. And so I've read some language that may be coming out in the fall. I don't know if they'll have enough money and organization to get on it. The only way I wouldn't vote for it if it's a shell game with taxes.
So you're not concerned that Ohio hasn't even gotten its medical marijuana off the ground, that this would be too much too soon, kind of overwhelming?
No, I am concerned. The question was, though, would I vote for that, or do I support that? And it's yes, I do support that idea as long as the taxes are right. I think we could.
You think this could be a big revenue source for the state?
Be huge. And if you invested it in universal pre-K, or you invested it into a robust infrastructure upgrade, clean water initiatives, we could really rebuild. We can do a transportation overhaul. I mean, we can do a lot of things with the money. I would only be for it if there's a dedicated revenue stream to something meaningful and impactful in the state of Ohio, not just throwing it in the pot like the lottery and then never know where the money goes. I'm not for that.
Okay. With the lottery, where they put it in schools and they give it and they take it away.
Shell game. People hate that.
All right, 10 years ago, Ohio voters voted to put a lid on the interest rates for payday loans. Payday lenders have found ways to get around that and basically offer the same product with interest rates averaging more than 591% in some cases. Ohio lawmakers now are looking at different possibilities to fix it or not. Are you in favor of this particular measure that would put a cap on it? I believe it's House Bill 123 of 28%. Should a lid be clamped on payday lenders in Ohio?
Absolutely. I mean, you're taking advantage of people that are desperate, and I see it all the time. And they put, facility up. They take your car. They take your car title. They give you these loans, and they hammer you on the back end. Hey, giving a loan at a reasonable rate. People need it. It's a business. I get it. But when it's just a all-out unfair ripoff, that shouldn't be allowed.
Okay. And why has this been allowed to persist?
It's politics. I mean, a lot of people, have been involved in this, and there's been ways that they've been able to wiggle. Right. And I think the time's finally come.
All right. A couple more quick questions. Should Ohio's anti-discrimination law be expanded to include sexual orientation and gender identity?
Yes. I mean, we're all human beings in this world, and we should take care of one another, and we should recognize each other's differences and embrace them.
Most of Ohio's 61 public transit systems desperately need money. Ohio is almost embarrassingly low in how much money it provides public transportation. I believe 62 cents per person, which has us in a neck-and-neck tie with rural South Dakota. With an older population that will be driving less and more millennials who aren't all that in love with riding in cars, does Ohio need to spend more money on public transportation?
Yes, but we need to make sure that we do it in the right way. You can't just throw money at this problem. We have such a geographically diverse state, so buses in one city are good, vans in another are good, but a mode of transportation that is reliable for everyone is where we need to be. So the needs in Athens are different than the needs in Columbus, and we have to go county by county and invest in public transportation by the needs of the people.
Okay, but obviously it's not a priority. Would you take money out of funding for highways, or where would you take money from?
No, I mean, all you got to do is stop giving all this money back in tax cuts, and you have money to work with. I mean, we go $1.1 billion in just that LLC loophole per year. If we strip that out, we could pay for universal pre-K and public transportation in a minute.
Tragic story that's been in the headlines lately, the terrible situation at the University Hospital's fertility clinic, which has brought to light the fact that these facilities are not governed, don't have any specific oversight. You have a proposal in that regard that you think is legitimate and not just opportunistic?
Yeah, we've had town hall forums, and we've talked to families, I've talked to doctors, I've talked to scientists. We are gathering ideas still, but the ideas are this, they're pretty simple. Like if somebody breaks into your house and you have an alarm goes off, it goes to the police, and the police come and hopefully save you or help you or prevent the injury from occurring. In this particular situation, there's no rules. There's no laws. They're self-regulated. But if you have an alarm that's mandated with somebody on staff that can actually remedy the problem, if there is an emergency, that seems sensible. If people have multiple embryos, they should be stored in separate tanks. That seems sensible. There's a lot of things when it comes to nitrogen and the chemical components that keep this stuff cold.
So should that be done by a government agency or some private entity that actually has power to impose regulations?
Whatever. I mean, that's what the conversation is, but we need to do something.
All right. Final question. One word, one phrase. Right now as we speak, Ohio's biggest problem is?
Ohio's biggest problem, I would say, is jobs and opportunities. People do not have the opportunities in Ohio, and that's why they're leaving. We need to keep young people here, and we have to do it by investing in the future.
All right, Senator Schiavoni, thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for being here, and good luck on May 8th.
Appreciate the
So we are
opportunity.
out of time. Again, thanks to Senator Schiavoni for being here. Thanks to all our viewers. We hope this helps you decide on May 8th who to vote for. Our next interview will be Thursday, April 5th at 10:30 a.m. when we will hear from Lieutenant Governor Mary Taylor, one of the Republican candidates for governor. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.